Sailing to liberty, sweet shore. Sailing to liberty, sweet shore. We left all we know, to this new life we'll go. Sailing to liberty, sweet shore.
We have today one of the finest contemporary Irish singers. He sings traditional music and he also writes songs. Mr. John Doyle, also a great guitar player. His latest record is in conjunction with Karen Casey. It's called Exiles Return. John comes from a very musical family. He now lives not too far from here, up around Asheville, North Carolina, but he comes originally from Ireland, from a very musical family, right? Both your father, mother, and
both
grandfather,
sides. You know,
everybody.
my grandfather was an accordion player, and my father's a singer and accordion player, and my uncle is an accordion player. That's why I play guitar.
I was going to say, what happened to you? Well, you were born in Dublin, raised there?
I was born in Dublin, and I was raised there.
Were they from there?
My father was from Sligo. That's where you know, our roots are. You know, that's where like a lot of my family. You know, like that's where we went back and listened to the music. We used to go to, you know, my grandfather's session, which was in a pub in Coolani, it's called, in Sligo, and we used to go there from the time of 4 years old. All my brothers and I, you know, listening to the music.
Everybody's familiar with Sligo who knows Irish music and poetry, for example. Both.
Exactly.
Yeats was a big...
Yeats and Coleman,
exactly,
you know, Yeats
right.
and Coleman for the fiddle.
Yeah, so you were, by the time you were, what, in your teens, you started playing out, or?
I started playing guitar when I was like about 12, and I never played anything but traditional music or folk music, because I think that was really what I loved doing and what I heard a lot of the time. So I did just that, and so by the time of 16, I fancied myself as a musician, and I left home and travelled around, and
in Ireland.
In Ireland, yeah. And just played music and did odd jobs and things like that.
A miner's life is like a sailor aboard a ship to cross the waves, and every day his life's in danger, many ventures being brave. Watch the rocks, they're falling daily, careless miners always fail. Keep your hand upon your wages and your eye upon the scale.
As we said here in August of 2010, Exiles Return was out earlier this year.
Yeah, I think it was like early this year. Yeah.
Where did you guys record this?
That's Compass Studios in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
And we're both on Compass.
Does Karen live in the States? She lives in
No,
Ireland.
she lives in Cork.
That's what I thought.
She's a Cork girl now.
Because we don't get a chance to have her on, except for every now and then when she's over here, a little window opens up and we try to always get her when we can.
She's planning on retiring anytime soon.
Come on. Tell her to play her last show here on Mountain Stage, then she can retire after that.
Okay, I'll tell her that.
Tell her that, would you?
I'll tell her you said so.
Yeah. We had her on our TV show too, once back a while ago. Well, how did this come about? Did you guys just say, hey, why not?
We wanted to do it for a long time,
okay.
And you know, we both have a deep interest in traditional tunes and music, you know, and we both have a love for just like hardcore tunes, you know, and songs, and you know, that just tell the history of like Ireland or just history of people really at the end of the day, you know, emotions and stuff. And so that album was like after like maybe 4 or 5 years in the making, just, you know, conceiving it, and then maybe about another 2 years trying to, you know, going back and forth with songs, you know, back and forth trying to figure out which ones we want to do, and then, you know, just the time we were very busy, the two of us, between traveling around, so it was kind of hard to get together to do it. So we finally did, though.
With her living there, you here, and not even being in the same group together, you all have your own careers.
Yeah, exactly.
And you both have to pursue that, and this turns out to be kind of a side project.
Little sparrow comes to me when daylight first draws near. She curls up tightly, safe beside me, sleeping without fear. Then she wakes, smiles and laughs, whispers in my ear, singing softly to me, little sparrow, singing softly to me. Little sparrow, singing softly to me.
Before we quit, you were talking about a song that's on that you just wrote about your grandfather, great-grandfather.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
it's called the Arabic. It's my mother told me a story a couple of years ago that I never had heard before about my great-grandfather on my mother's side, and his name was Martin Lohan, and he decided he'd go and visit his brother and emigrate to America in 1915, and as you know, that was the time of the Great War, World War One, and it was just after the Lusitania had been sunk, and so he walked all the way from Roscommon down to Cove, which was Queenstown then, and took the SS Arabic, which was a White Star Line ship, and he got as far as Kinsale, and it was torpedoed by a U-24, and it sunk in 10 minutes, and he jumped overboard, had a big scar on his side, and sorry, and he got rescued by there was a boat that had a bunch of people on it, but they were beating him with oars to try and get him off because they were afraid that they'd tip it over. Anyone who saw the Titanic would know this story.
Oh, man. And
so they have this woman on board actually finally lifted him up and saved his life. And so he got back and he recuperated for about a month or 2 months in Kinsale or off Kinsale. And then he walked back home, and all his family didn't know, like what happened to him, because they knew that he was on the SS Arabic, that they presumed that he had died. And they got back and they said, look, what happened to you? Where were you? And he says, I wasn't meant to go to America. And that's all he spoke of it for decades.
Wow.
He never would speak of it,
Wow.
He'd write a lot of stories about it now, wouldn't you,
So
it's very stoic characters, at that time, something like that wouldn't faze them too much.
Apparently. Oh man.
So he never went from Roscommon. He ended up being a mason. He was a mason, and he did a lot of work, But I never knew much about him until my mother told me. So I wrote that song about him, and I'm kind of proud of it because it's, my family.
Yeah.
Soil, in hardship and toil, Roscommon's rough lands they own me. Digging potatoes and ploughing the soil, as my ancestors did throughout history. But I swore I would plant my own seed, rise from my knees and stand proudly. America I swore, or some foreign shore, would grant me a life I dreamt of surely. So I saved up the money, my passage to pay, and braved the road early one morning. I bid adieu to my family among grief and tears, for I feared that there was no returning. On the White Star Line I soon sailed away, although the Great War was still raging. We marched a long way, from Queenstown made way, till the Arabic grew far above me.
Well, now they can hear it online.
They can hear it, and hopefully they like it.
Well, you'll find out whether they do or
I
not.
will, yeah. My mother will be calling me like, what was that?
Exactly.
That part, that wasn't true.
Yeah, well, that's great. John Doyle is the man. Mountainstage.org is where you and his mother can hear his set on Mountain Stage and the song.
You have to pronounce it. You have to pronounce it mother.
Mother, his mother can hear it. And hello, mother, wherever you are. I'm Larry Gross. We hope that you listen to the show, and we thank John for being with us again. Yeah.